Hello, my name is Rachel, and today I'm going to be bringing you the To All the Boys I Loved Before tag. I just finished my reread of the book last week with my high school book club, so I thought what better time to do the tag than now. So, this tag involves all 5 boys that Laura Jean wrote letters to in the book, and each one represents one of the boys. So, the first one is Kenny from camp, aka the first book love that you had, and for me, I'm going all the way back to Pokey the Little Puppy. I still just have a real soft spot for this book. It's the first book I remember, I guess the first book I actually remember reading, if that makes sense. I know I read a bunch of books when I was little, or rather had them read to me, but that's the one that stuck with me the most from early on. And I have my own copy. I have an ornament that kind of depicting the book in a pop-out version, and I just love that book. Every time I see it, it brings a smile to my face. So that is definitely my first book love. It's my Kenny from camp. Number 2 is John Ambrose McLaren, aka The Book That Got Away. So this would be, I imagine, one that you like, but maybe it's not your favorite anymore. You really, really liked it at the time, and you still really like it, but it's not your, favorite anymore. And for me, I'm gonna pick 2 for this. One of them is Blood and Chocolate by Annette Curtis Claus. I still really like this book, and this is one of the ones that I would say for a big chunk of my life I listed as one of my favorite books because I just liked so much about it, and I reread it so often, and not a lot of people had heard about it. So it was easy to discuss and recommend to people, and it was easy to talk about and reference. So I still love that book, but it definitely isn't a top favorite anymore because I've read so many books since then, and it's definitely still in the favorites, but it's not the top favorite anymore, if that makes sense. The other one is one that I probably wouldn't even consider a favorite anymore, but that's She's Come Undone by Wally Lamb. This is one of the first adult books I remember reading, and it really kind of left an impact. There was a lot of dark subject matter in that book. I think I read it a little bit before I was ready, so it did kind of score me a little, I'm not gonna lie, but it was impactful in that I didn't realize that there was literature beyond what I was reading at that time. I was reading a lot of young adult literature and just out of R.L. Stine stuff, and it was really the first adult book that I realized that I still had quite a ways to go in my reading expanse, if that makes sense. So again, for a while I would list that one as my favorite because that was the only real adult book that I had read at that point. At this point, it definitely wouldn't probably even make the favorites list anymore, but it is something that I do remember having a huge impact on me. Next up is Lucas from Homecoming, aka your GBF. So this is your favorite LGBTQ plus book. So for this one, I am gonna go with, again, an oldie. These are kind of all embarrassing, but I guess it's fitting for this. I'm gonna go with the novelization of My So-Called Life. That was a show straight out of the 90s, and it was so 90s. It was just so 90s. It epitomizes what it was like to be a teenager in the 90s. And I had never seen characters like any of these people. Some of them had drug problems or parents with drug problems. There was a gay character, and we kind of saw the struggle of him being a gay person in a school when that wasn't really accepted. I mean, and I guess it's still not accepted a lot of places now, but a lot more so than it was in the 90s. And that was I think one of my first exposures to a lot of, well, it's not even a lot of diversity, but diversity in general, because I come from a very small rural town. So for me, even at that point, that was pretty diverse. And it was very interesting to see it just out in the open. Whereas I think in the 90s that was just kind of starting to happen. So again, that was My So-Called Life. If you haven't seen the show, you totally should watch it. It's very melodramatic and angsty, but oh my gosh, it is the 90s totally wrapped up. But that's what I'm gonna go with for this one. Next up is Josh Sanderson. This is the book next door. So one that you'll love no matter how many times you read it, it's always there for you. And for me, I'm going to pick Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging by Louise Redison. I love this series. I mean, it is definitely like below level, obviously. This is a upper middle grade high school-ish girl from England, and obviously I can't relate to her anymore, but oh my gosh, I relate to her so much from when I was little, and these are so funny. It doesn't matter what kind of a mood you're in. If you pick these up, you're going to find something in there that makes you feel better, I think. So no matter what kind of a mood you're in, if you're ready to laugh, if you need a laugh, whatever, this book series is perfect. I've reread it several times. They're so easy to fly through too. So it's not like you have to be in a deep mood to read them. You can pick them up anytime. They're perfect. I will always go back to that series. I love it. And lastly is Peter Kaczynski, and this is your one true book love. Now, for this, I'm going to go with Pride and Prejudice. And the reason I'm going to go with Pride and Prejudice is because I tell everybody that's my favorite book, and it is. It's my favorite story ever. Like, the storyline of that will always be my favorite. The book is very daunting to read. That's not something like Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging where you can just pick up whenever. I do find myself, like, dipping in and out of, like, the audiobook, though. But I feel like to sit down, it's not like you can just pick it up and just read it from cover to cover very quickly. At least not for me, I don't think. It's a little bit harder of a read than your Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging, for instance. But it doesn't matter. Whatever flaws that book has, I love it despite, or rather because of those flaws. I love that book so much. I love Darcy. I love all the characters, even the characters I hate. I love them. I just really, really love that story. And it, I think, will always have to be my favorite because no other story could come close to that. I think some other books would be more fun to read because they're easier. I think I will find other books that I really love and that I will mention as a favorite, but I think that one's always going to be the top. And I even have a collection of them. I have so many. I think I have like 25 copies. It's my favorite. It's my Peter Kaczynski. I'm always going to love it. So there you have my top 5 picks for the To All the Boys I Love Before tag. I'm hoping maybe to go ahead and continue with the series with book 2 and book 3 and then maybe do a series review, so stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and I will see you again soon with another video. Bye for now.